What is going on, fellas? How's everybody doing out there tonight? You guys doing okay? Are you still awake?
I'm awake. How about you, UB? Is it just your corpse? Dancing with a corpse.
Yeah, who would have thought that this show would have, I mean, midnight is usually the latest they go, but yeah, we're right at 12:30.
Tonight felt like it was the big show.
That was long as fuck. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 5 hours, right? It started at 7.
Well, yeah, the pre-show was at 7:00, so yeah, it was a long show. And it was not, I don't know if where I'm a big fan of the Rumble or what usually. Like, I don't think it lived up to my expectations for the night for some reason.
I definitely don't think it was I don't think this was a good event. You know, I've only really watched the pay-per-views. I haven't really been watching the TV show much. So, you know, going into it, I don't really know what's going on too much, but I mean, I didn't feel like I was really excited. I was excited for it, but I feel like I was pretty let down, especially by the men's Rumble. I think that really was a letdown because, you know, when you watch the Rumble, you're always looking for like, oh my God, who are these guys they're going to bring in that we haven't seen in a while or whatever. And there was like, what, Booker T and Logan Paul were like the two surprises.
God damn.
You know,
and Logan Paul, man, like, I know, like, whatever, he's a good wrestler or whatever and whatnot, but like, I just don't get excited when I see Logan Paul come out. And Booker T was in there for about 30 seconds. He did like one move and got thrown out. So it really wasn't, you know.
Well, what about there was a lot of guys in there they could have swapped out and just did something else? Because I know, like, you know, Zack Ryder was really pushing to try to get in this year because his wife did and all this other stuff. And I mean, it would have been nice just to see some different people than just like the regular roster. Like, we didn't need. And the thing is, too, it's like you even had like that one spot that was supposed to be Ray, and then he never came out. It's like, then why even go there? Like, why not just put someone else there? So we just got like a missed spot. Like,
I thought something was going to come out of that. Like, I thought he was going to come back out or something. That's usually what they do. Like, they'll have somebody not show up, and then they'll run back out at the end or something. But nothing happened at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was figuring for sure something would happen with that, but of course, no. And,
but I mean, did you guys watch the end? Like, I felt like that was the best part of the whole damn thing. I was like,
yeah, I mean, that was
blown away.
I'm not even following that storyline, and that was still, I still thought that was pretty good. But the women's Royal Rumble was like better. This is like the third year in a row I thought the women's Rumble was better than the fucking men's Rumble. So I don't know what that says, but
Nia Jax is back, boys.
Oh,
yeah, I think
what a big waste of time.
Garrett and I both had the same reaction. They just, why in the hell, like, even bother?
Yeah, I was like, that wasn't like a whoa. That was kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to watch this even more now. You know, like, I have no interest in Nia Jax at all. I think she's a terrible worker. I feel like she brings nothing to the table.
Awful.
If you want to push somebody because of their size, they should push friggin' Piper Niven before they because she can work. That's the thing. You know, like. Like she can work. Nia can't work. She sucks. And the thing is too, like Rhea Ripley is fantastic. And I think the one thing I will say about this year is I think the two people that won the Rumbles are the people that should have won the Rumbles, I think. So, I mean, I think that at least got them moving forward. But because Rhea deserves it. I mean, she's come such a long way. Like she's like one of the best things, in the WWE right now. And she got pissed at Nia because she went to slam her and Nia gave her like no help at all. And then she like kind of dropped her. And then you could tell she was really roughing her up like big time. And I'm wondering if Nia's going to pull a shit like in the back or whatever, because she was hitting her hard after that, basically being like, what the hell are you doing?
I think this was a one-time appearance.
Well, I don't think so, because somebody just sent me her t-shirt now that's on the site. So
God damn it. Wow.
Man, who in the fuck ever wanted her to come back? Like, I don't understand. Like,
I don't know if it's just me though. Did you guys think like, of course she's always been bigger, but it seems like she was even
she's huge this time.
She was, a couple of years ago or whatever.
I know they were trying to get The Rock involved somehow, so maybe he was like, "Oh, well, step one, bring Nia back." You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Yeah,
like,
let her come back and fucking sandbag and injure about 2 or 3 people. Like,
of course, you got to get Tamina in there still, because she's been there for 13 or 14 years and not done shit.
The most boring workers ever too. Like those two. Like, oh my god, dude! I was just like, I mean, and that wasn't. That was like one small. So it was about probably 2 or 3 minutes of the Women's Royal Rumble was just Nia Jax coming in, getting like piled on and then thrown out. The rest of it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Asuka, they don't ever fucking use Asuka either. I know she's been out for a while, but they never give her anything to fucking do even when she comes in there.
Well, I like the new outfit, new makeup and stuff though. It's kind of cool.
She's amazing.
Too many NXT girls tonight, I think, that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, they're all from like New Zealand or like London or something too. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I think there was just too many. Like 1 or 2 or 3 maybe, but like there was like 7 of them or whatever. And some of them that are totally not even ready to like be on that stage, which is, kind of sucks.
But if you guys didn't get enough of that 5.5 hour show, they're doing the press conference right now.
Yeah, I can see it right now. I can see it right here. If you see me looking off in the distance, that's why they just had
the press conference.
Oh God. So, but yeah, we appreciate everybody coming out late. This is the latest that we've ever done starting the show. I'm about positive.
Yeah, I feel like we need to hurry this up because I don't be on here all fucking night. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning before we get done with this.
Know from now on to never schedule anything after a fucking WWE pay-per-view.
You're gonna be excited, bro. We're gonna talk about
Yeah,
I am excited.
That's the best part of the whole thing, really. I mean, in a horrible way.
Well, the thing is, too, is this period in time with WWE, and we're going back 20 years to 2003, which Garrett was actually at this show, the Royal Rumble, that year. Was it in Boston?
Boston.
Massachusetts. Yeah. Was it the Fleet Center?
The Fleet Center. Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
Yep. It's where the Celtics play. Yeah.
And I don't really recall a whole lot like offhand without rewatching it at all. Like I couldn't have predicted one match or remembered one match from this show. So it was cool to go back and revisit it and remember this time period because it's all coming back to me now, boss, after I watched the show. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we don't talk about wrestling that much on here. We're known for the horror talk, but every once in a while, it's good to do what you want to do. Right.
I really, though, was thinking, like, I didn't remember a lot of these matches, but I remembered, like, the build-up to the Steiner, like, Triple H match more than I remember the actual match because the build-up was fucking amazing. Yeah. Like, if they would have done anything at all other than what they did in that match, that could have been, like, an amazing run, but...
Oh, yeah. I remember, like, vividly this whole event because I went and I was so into it at that point. Like, I just remember being so excited for Steiner because that was his first match in the WWE. So, everybody there was like thought that he was going to finally take that belt because that was during that Triple H reign where like nobody could beat him for a while, where like pre-Evolution and Or was Evolution just starting at that point? I forget.
I don't
but,
think they had started. They were in the early stages, possibly.
But yeah, it was like that reign of Triple H where he was just plowing through guy after guy after guy, and then finally when Steiner showed up, everybody was like, "Okay, here's the guy that's going to finally take that damn belt off of him."
Well, that was the gimmick for Triple H. Though, was just like at that time period, 2003, destroying all the old like WCW guys. That was his whole fucking gimmick, like Booker T, and oh god, there were so many of them that came through there around that time that he just like
Goldberg,
yeah.
So it was definitely pretty cool because they even when Steiner got there, like there was this big thing with like Bischoff and Stephanie like trying to sign them to this brand and stuff. I can still remember like leading up to it and how much promotion and hype he was getting as like the next big star. And I can still remember a segment in Raw where he came out and he was like, if I come to Raw, like I get a title shot right away. And then I remember Triple H said, and then he's like, Eric Bischoff promised me. And then Triple H says, I'm like, what makes you think you can just walk on here and just get a title shot? And Steiner does the double buys. He's like, these say I can get a world title shot. Like, all you got to do is just, you got big biceps.
That's right.
He goes into Bischoff. Like, what do you think of this? Like, all right, you get a title match. These say I get a title. And I still say that all the time to people. Like, we'll work out at my gym or something. Like, we just go to work, just be like, I was sorry I was long on my break. These is why I was a little bit long.
I still think though that Steiner was like one of the best promos though, and like they didn't really let him do anything then though. I mean, in terms of actual promos, because it's WWF or E or whatever it was at the time. But like, I mean, he was amazing when they actually went to TNA and like that whole thing took off. But I know we were talking about this, like the build up to that match. Like there was all kinds of stuff he did with Triple H. There was like they had an arm wrestling contest. Yeah. They had a fucking like push up contest, a pose down. Like every week it was something like that they would do.
Yeah, it was built really well, and like the theme song for this event was so killer. It was like, remember that band Trust Company? They had like a really big album, and it was like that kind of weird like.
It was the worst name for a band ever, too.
Trust Company. It kind of had like that Breaking Benjamin sound, and it just was a real killer song. And it was like that was like the song for this event, and it just worked so well for the build up of that match. And I remember just being so hyped for it. And we'll get into what happened, but man, it was.
Now this right here, boys, is a fucking album. Fuck Trust Company. You got to get Dio, Holy Dollar.
That's a hell of a segue into Dio.
Well, Sarah just brought it. She just brought it to me, so I was like,
"Yeah."
She said, "Get this." She said, "Get this shit out of the living room."
This satanic. Get this shit out of my room.
Yeah, she was checking it out earlier, so
she was checking it out, like rocking out to it.
Yeah.
But
fuck Dio.
No, hey, won't you, Brian Andrew Pietrowski? Dio is way better than Pantera, dude.
Oh no.
Oh God.
Just make sure he doesn't have the link to get in here.
And I like Zach Wild and everything, but that's a fucking shame that they're touring using the Pantera name. I would not pay a dime to go see those assholes.
What they're doing is shameful.
It's shameful. It really is. And those guys are pieces of shit, if you ask me. Not to offend any Pantera fans out there, but it's true. I hate when bands do that, man. No.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, here.
But anyway,
who gives a shit?
Mailman's fault.
He just signed off. He was so mad.
He's like, God, shit.
So we're going to go get started because, well, this is Royal Rumble 2003 retrospective. I'm sure people in the chat can let us know what you guys think of the show tonight, but we're going to go through these matches here. Now, this was presented, let's tell you how long ago this was, presented by PlayStation 2.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Ooh. I was playing a lot of SmackDown versus Raw, though, for PlayStation 2.
I was playing Blood Rain on PlayStation 2 back then. You remember that?
I never had a PlayStation 2. That's one PlayStation. It was
a good system, I thought. I thought it was a pretty good system.
Now, there's two different announce teams for this. They were hardcore into the brand split at the time. And Michael Cole and Taz were from SmackDown, and of course Jerry the King Lawler and good old JR on Raw. But the opening match, I think it was a SmackDown match because Taz said his catchphrase at the time. You remember that, Uncle Bill?
Taz's catchphrase at that time?
When Brock Lesnar come down there?
Oh, was it the "Here Comes the Pain"?
Well, here comes the
The
pain.
pain.
It's like he couldn't wait to say that. Yeah.
Freaking Taz.
But yeah, Brock Lesnar, opening match, Brock Lesnar versus the Big Slow with Paul Heyman. And I didn't even remember Paul Heyman ever being with the Big Show, really. But it must have been a brief thing.
Yeah, it was it went from Brock to Big he changed sides. So like he was with Brock, and then him and Brock had a feud, and then he jumped to Big Show's side and turned on Brock, and then Brock went babyface. And then that's why he was with him. Remember, like Big Show had like a flat top or whatever in this?
Yeah, this was when
like jeans.
Big Show was a jobber for a long time there. Like, they couldn't figure out anything to do with him, of course, because like he's horrible. But like around this time, this is when he was like he had his resurgence and everything, and he was like knocking people out with the punch and all that shit.
Yeah.
And like they were trying to put him over as like a championship kind of contender at that. And they did this a couple of times, like throughout the 2000s. This was one of those times where they were like really trying to build him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got a lot of those little mini pushes or whatever back in the day. He'd be unstoppable for like 2 months, and then he would like lose a big match, and then he'd be like buried again.
I always felt that they did the Lesnar feud though, just to show everybody how fucking strong Lesnar was.
Yeah,
what he could do to the Big Show, lift him up and suplex him. And
by the way, was there ever another Rumble where a dude had to fight somebody at the beginning of the Rumble to get into the Rumble? Because that was the case here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I know they did that with Mania with the Daniel Bryan situation, but I don't think about the Rumble. I mean, maybe, but not off the top of my head.
I know it seems like a few times they had like tag teams that had matches and they were also in the Rumble itself, but I don't know if they ever did anything, you've got like a wild card match or something, to get in the Rumble, you got to.
I just saw Brian's reaction.
He's so fired up. You can tell. I can almost when I read it, I can almost hear him. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, why don't you just eat my smelly ass, you piece of shit? Go pass out.
God damn.
You drunk buffoon. You drunken buffoon.
Drunken buffoon.
You don't want to fuck with me this
I got a snake, man.
Because the filter is off pretty much. I mean, I'm gonna have to try to watch myself because I'm on Greg's channel too. Multi-streaming.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're on my channel. I can't get
those thumbs up and like the video and blah and whatever,
Right. So big surprise though, real quick, is that Lesnar won that match.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming or anything, but
Big Show's gonna win. He's gonna beat Lesnar. He's gonna win the Rumble.
Yeah.
So a couple things, little things popped up though in between. Like there was an interview segment here. Terry Runnels was one of the interviewers back then, and I kind of remembered that.
Yeah,
that was kind of her role there for a while. I think on Raw, she was interviewing Jericho, who looked. And I was thinking, I wrote here, he looked 30 years younger, but it is 20 years, honestly. So, yeah, looks like a different guy. Next matchup, though, the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, who were newly reformed, they said. So, this was fresh off of Devon, the Reverend gimmick that they gave him. And did Bubba have a different gimmick?
No, Bubba, like, not really. He almost looked like he was like a UPS man or something because he had like the shorts, like the little like brown shorts, camo shorts or something. Yeah, I was like, he didn't really have a gimmick, but it was like that's what he reminded me of. He was doing like I think hardcore matches or something like that by himself. But this is the newly reformed.
Yeah, the Dudley Boys versus, this is a team I didn't remember at all. They were tag champs at the time, Lance Storm and William Regal, and they had already Already had the separate tag belts too for SmackDown.
Was that like no? That wasn't no. What was that? That wasn't Un-Americans, right? No.
No,
no. This was just a weird like mix thrown together tactic.
I used to hate when they did that. Like,
but
they would
this
just throw
is
two guys
when
together and like that was it.
This was like on the precipice of when they were trying to make Lance Storm like hip, you know, because he was so boring for so long, and they were like trying to give him a personality and all that shit. And like, I guess for some reason they thought teaming him up with Regal would do something with that, but it didn't really work. Clearly,
yeah, that didn't feel like a good team. That's probably why it ended the way it did.
And also, I noticed in this match, the referee was Nick Patrick from WCW.
Oh, yeah.
How long was he in the company, man? Like, this was a couple of years after the whole WCW thing. So
there was something that happened in this that I didn't remember at all. And like kind of later on in the match, Chief Morley comes out. Do you remember fucking Chief Morley?
Yeah, I remember that.
Alvin.
That was definitely one of the worst authority characters of all time.
Especially because like they used his real name and everybody knew it was Val Venus, right? It just didn't make sense.
Chief of Staff Morley.
I about pissed myself when he came out because that's just such a horrible gimmick. Like,
yeah, he tried to interfere and it backfired with Brass Knuckles, I think. And they also promoted, and I'm like, they still had that restaurant. The World Restaurant in New York.
Yeah, I'd never been there. I wish I would have. I always wanted to go somewhere.
I wonder when that closed, because you would have thought by that point it would have closed because they got it back in like the late 90s.
It must have closed right after, because I'm trying to think of how old I would have been here. So 20 years ago. So yeah, like wow, I can't even get over that, because. Yeah, so it was still open because when I was traveling a lot to New York around 2004, 2005 actually. So it was closed by then. So it must have closed shortly after this because it was not there in 2005.
Drug runs.
It was WWE New York at first.
Why I was there?
Yeah, drug runs.
Oh, you don't want to know why I was there.
Oh
no. It was
definitely.
It was
or prostitution.
No. I was.
You ever seen the movie Magic Mike? He was doing that sort of
thing.
I was in the top 20 to be on Real World Key West.
There ain't no fucking way.
Yeah. So I was traveling to New York to do auditions and stuff. Yeah,
I remember you saying something about that on something before.
Yeah, and I met then. So because I had to keep going there and doing auditions and like moving on to the next round, and then I had to go to like this hotel where they filmed the audition, and like because they needed to use that footage on the show, like at the first episode and stuff. So I kept having to go back to New York, and I ended up meeting people that lived in New York at the time. So then we became friendly, and then I would go back there every once in a while and like party in the city and stuff like that. So that was like around 2005.
I catch Johnny Bananas over here,
dude. But you know what's so funny? So truth be told is that obviously like they kind of tell you like, hey, if you don't get selected, you don't get that last call. If you do get selected, we're going to call you, and it's going to be within 2 weeks from today or whatever. We're going to try to have our decisions. And then all of a sudden it's like I didn't get that last call, and I was getting a lot of the calls like leading up to that. And at that point I was like ready to quit my job. I'm like, I have to be on now. Like I keep progressing now I'm at the top 20, blah, blah. And then, I can remember they didn't call, and I was like, did they mean 2 weeks from like 2 weeks business days? Like I was like starting to freak out a little bit. And then the show ended up airing, and Johnny Bananas was on that season. And I remember looking at the cast and thinking to myself, well, if I was ever to be on this, it probably would have been that role. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I was just looking at the cast and I'm like, okay, well, I wouldn't have, there's 3 girls or 4 girls. I wouldn't have been this guy. I wouldn't have been that guy. And I'm like, it had to have been like, because they used to cast you based on like a specific look or nationality or whatever it may be. And I kind of feel like at that time, like I had the same kind of haircut and all that stuff. And I'm like, that was probably my role. That would have been Johnny Bananas, but fun fact.
I don't know a thing about that show or anybody.
I don't either. I miss
Tony Pepperoni, Johnny Bananas, whatever.
Yeah.
there was a segment here that I cracked up at too, like a
I know what it
promo
is.
type thing.
I know what it is too.
The Colossus of Bogger Road, Nathan Jones.
Dude, that was killer though, wasn't it? Though I felt like that was a cool promo though.
His
Like,
build
I
up
thought
was
that
like
was
1,000 times better than him in the ring. Yeah.
Oh my god, him in the ring was like a huge disappointment. He was like always falling down and shit.
I can't think. I was trying to think of like what was his gimmick nickname. I was like the Bastard of Bugger Road, or the. That's like,
That would have been better. Yeah,
I knew it was something
the
like
Colossus of Bogger Road.
Yeah.
Man, that's like one of the worst nicknames ever, though.
It's
I kept wanting to say it was the Beast of Bray Road. You remember the movie,
the Beast of Bray Road? I swear to God, I was like, that would be a killer name for him, the Bastard of Bugger Road.
The Legend of Boggy Creek, Nathan
Yeah.
Jones.
But Nathan Jones went on to become a pretty successful actor since then.
He did.
Which is interesting. But yeah, his role as the Colossus of Bogger Road did not last long at all.
Can't imagine
I'm
why.
thinking less than 6 months, probably, right? He was gone.
Yeah.
He only had a couple matches, man. Like he just stunk up everything.
The thing was, he was a freaking monster. Like he was huge, and like they probably looked at him and be like, "Oh my god, like this guy's gonna be a huge star." He had a great look. Remember he came in and like he was just randomly like Undertaker's friend for no reason. I think that's my friend Nathan Jones from the penitentiary. Like, and he like did like that.
He
Mania
knows everybody
match,
from prison.
Remember that? It was like in the Mania match, like Taker and Nathan Jones versus like Albert and like somebody else. Big Show.
He should have been the protege of Nails. Like Nails was back locked up, but he's sending Nathan Jones to WWF.
See, I would love those type like throwback like that where you had to kind of be in the know to know. Like that was like with Bray Wyatt when he first entered NXT. He was supposed to be the nephew of Waylon Mercy because he had the hat and like the Hawaiian shirt and stuff, and they never really brought that aspect to the main roster. But I always thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, was when he was in NXT, they said that?
Yeah.
Huh, that's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Yep.
So this next match, man, is just a classic because this sort of thing is like what legends are made of when it comes to like this, just like cheesy, hokey shit that they'll never. I don't see them ever doing stuff like this again, but it's fun to go back and watch. And it's the Dawn Marie Tori Wilson match.
I remember this angle too, man, like vividly.
Oh my god.
And it's almost
so
like
bad.
some aspects of this, I was thinking, well, did I imagine some of this shit that went down, or did they actually do it? And they did.
They did all of it, yeah.
So basically, in a nutshell, Dawn Marie was using Tori Wilson's dad, Al, for his money or whatever else, and just to piss Tori off. And actually fucks Al to death. Storyline wise,
That's so funny. It was so. I mean, like, think about that. Like, that could never happen again. Like, he's in the bathroom. She's like, another time. He's like, and then like she rolls him over one more, and he was like dead. And the thing was, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but like that, I think that really was Tori Wilson.
It was. Yeah,
it wasn't an actor. Like,
no,
how did he get that?
I remember
role?
that.
Like, hey, Dad, we got to tell you, I'm waiting to come to Raw.
I bet he loved that. He was like, "Oh, damn, this is amazing." I tell you what, was
for Tori, like
the best part about that match. This was the best part about that whole match is that she wore like a little black veil on the way down to the ring. I was like, I marked out about that. The match was the shits, but that veil was hilarious.
Well, Visitation too. They played that part leading up to it, where they actually put Al Wilson in a casket and everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, you wonder what he would have got paid to do this whole little stint because of all the stuff he had to do. You know what I mean? He had like all those segments and stuff like that.
God,
it was the first ever stepdaughter versus stepmother match. Basically, is what they were doing here.
And he's passed since then, Al Wilson, I think, right?
He did, yeah.
He'd have to, man. He was Jesus.
And this
elderly then.
This was a crazy quick match. Neither one of these girls were ever really wrestlers, I don't think. I mean, they were probably trained a little, but it was the exact length it needed to be. Both
It
girls.
was about 3 minutes, something like that. I swear
It was just, they're
Somebody's
eye
pay-per-view.
candy, basically. I always liked Dawn Marie a lot back in the day when she was,
Mhm.
And they both did a great job with this. This is like the only storyline or anything that I can remember either of them having in WWE. I don't know if they really did much else with either one. I think they put Tori with Tajiri for a while, oddly enough.
Yes. Yep.
But nothing really that's like this.
Mm-hmm.
Tajiri was like
they had, you know what they did with Tori?
Day.
Tori had that big feud with Sable because of the Playboy thing. Remember they did that for a while? Sable was in Playboy and then Tori got in it, and then Sable like turned heel and came back.
Yeah, it seems like I kind of remember that.
Yeah, because that's when Sable came back and she met Brock. That was that period of time.
This was a weird period though for me because I think I was watching Raw around this time, but I was not really keeping up with SmackDown. So a lot of this stuff that I can't remember was on SmackDown.
Well, that was when wasn't it like Stephanie was the GM and Eric Bischoff was the GM of
yes.
And they were like going back and forth and all that shit. And like that, this was also around the time I think when Bischoff kept running around saying that he had this huge like secret, and it turns out it was like Stone Cold came back for that brief period of time that he came back. And like,
is that when he had like the little badge? I mean, he was like sheriff, and he had like
that was actually
sheriff, Chief Wally and Sheriff Austin. Yeah.
Afro Will's talking about a puppy dog match. Now, what is that?
They did. I remember that fucking match, man.
She had a little dog. Remember the little, like
a dog,
poodle, right? Dog.
Hey, man. She had a dog. You sound like a good fella.
Listen, you don't make fun of the way he talks. That's just rude.
Oh my goodness.
He's the Ray Romano of Radness, boy.
Don't fucking do it.
Ray Romano.
I don't remember the puppy dog match though. So backstage segment, you were talking about Eric Bischoff and Stephanie.
Don't pull it up. Just leave it there.
No, just
leave it there.
It ain't. Yeah, we want to. What?
Look here, sir.
You got to give him credit. He's creative with nothing else. Jesus.
I cut it. Oh, since I'm on Garrett's channel.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Backstage segment with Eric Bischoff, Stephanie, and Randy Orton, who had like what kind of haircut did Randy Orton have? Did you guys notice this? It was like that the
spider cut?
It was like a Justin Bieber type like hairdo. It looked so odd.
Oh, is that okay? So yeah. That's when he first came. It was like long and shaggy, kind of in the front.
Yeah.
There's a spider. It looked like he had a spider hanging down on his head.
Yeah, that was the 1-800 get well Randy or whatever gimmick.
Yeah, I guess that hairdo didn't last very long either. About as long as the Beast of or the Colossus of Bogger Road did.
The bastard of Bugger Road.
And they had a whole thing with like blood is thicker than water and thicker than urine or something like that.
Money is thicker than blood, though.
Money is thicker than blood. Yeah. There's also a Sean O'Hare segment, and this was a gimmick there was a lot of stuff on this show too that didn't really like last very long. It seemed
that would have been a good gimmick if they would have known what the hell to do with it, but they would never really let it get over. Where he was like
they didn't even do it. It died before it even started. That was a fantastic.
Well, he came out with it like at least one or two times because there was like.
Well, he was in this Rumble match coming up later on the show, right? Wasn't he?
No.
He came out during some sort of contract signing or some sort of signing.
Yeah, you know what happened was so number one, that gimmick would have been it was way ahead of its time. I think it would have went over. Sean O'Hare was a freak of nature. Great athlete. I think that he had a lot to offer. But what happened was they were going to push this gimmick hard, and then something happened where remember like the whole segment with it had to do with Piper. Remember, like Piper and Hogan.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then Sean O'Hare came out and like, Piper was with him. So that's what they did. They ended up like dumping it to put him with Piper, but I don't remember why he needed to be with Piper. Maybe to like take a beating or something because Piper couldn't take one, so they needed someone to be like his heavy or whatever. So like they totally just scrapped it and threw Sean O'Haire with like Piper for whatever reason. So that gimmick that he had like just died a death before it even got started.
I think that was the last time he did anything with it, wasn't it? Was the Piper thing? Like,
yeah,
that was the
And he got released like probably not long after that. It didn't seem like he
passed away very shortly.
Yeah, he died. But the gimmick was awesome. It was like a devil's advocate kind of gimmick. Like, you know, why are you going to church? Blah, 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 blah. Like, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, he's like an evil motivational speaker.
Evil motivational speaker, yeah. That's the best way to put it.
So that leads us to the match that you guys were talking about and all hyped up about. And
man. This is a classic in a
very
wrong way.
Interesting, yeah. Triple H versus Big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holler if you hear me. This is the world title match. So they had the WCW belt they were using at the time as the world title on Raw.
Big Gold.
Yeah. Triple H with Ric Flair was kind of his manager at the time. Now, this was, I think, before they did anything with Evolution.
It was like, very shortly after this they did.
And this was Big Papa Pump's final run in WWF, which did not last very long at all. And oddly enough, this was his only main event level push that he ever got. Because after this, they did a bunch of weird crap with him. Like he was a tag team with like Test or something. Yeah. And just kind of.
We all know the best tag team with Test was TNA. So
Test and Albert, testicles. And when I think that was his gimmick here in this event, testicles.
Yeah. So this match was awful though. This was like terrible.
Listen, I watched it. I couldn't believe how fucking bad it was. I didn't remember it being that bad. But like they botched probably half the stuff in the match.
This is one for people to see because it was like when Steiner came out, that place was on their feet, like thinking, "Oh my God, we're gonna see it happen." And as soon as this match started going, and Steiner had like he only knew one move, like he just kept doing it over and
belly to belly suplex.
People started to get mad in the audience, like same old shit, same old, and he just kept doing it. Then he like tried to do something different, like fell down, and like the people.
Well, he tried to do. There was one spot in particular, man. Well, and there's a backstory behind this, I believe it too. There's one where he botches a fucking power bomb. I'm pretty sure.
It was the double underhook. He went, and then throw one up and fell with it. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of rumors that Triple H kind of sandbagged like every move like that he would try to do, and kind of wasn't trying to help him out or anything like that. And you can look on his face and see like how much pain he's in when he's trying to get that fucking suplex because he's not lifting himself up whatsoever. He's just kind of like lifting dead weight.
Steiner did have creator wrestling.
Yeah.
It was I guess this match is what really led to them not wanting to really do anything with Steiner because he was very limited.
This was it.
This was like basically, I think they said like they probably were like, listen, show us what you can do out there, and you're gonna, it was a DQ loss, I think too, so it wasn't even like it didn't hurt him per se, but I think they probably were like, show us what you can do, and then you'll get a rematch and get the belt or something.
Well, here's the problem, man, and I'm assuming this is Triple H that did this. That match was 18 minutes long. Now, that big son of a bitch doesn't need to be out there for 18 minutes. Like, at any point in his career, he didn't need to have an 18-minute match. But they did, and, like, he completely, by, like, the middle of it, was completely gassed. And I don't think he was able to do much of anything by that point anyway.
Well, and the big gimmick thing with Triple H cheating all the time and shit was the sledgehammer deal.
Right.
So that's kind of a bullshit ending for a pay-per-view match as well, I thought. Like a DQ sort of thing.
Well, what's crazy, and I think I might have been talking to Wes about it. I don't know. I think it was. How, like, Steiner was unbelievable, like, pre-Papa Pump. Like, when he was in the Steiner Brothers, like, he was just... He could fly around. He was fast. He was still huge. He wasn't as freaky as Big Papa, but he was big. And I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like he was just such an incredible athlete. And then you just see what can happen in just a few years' time. I mean, you're thinking, what was that 2003? Was that 2003?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that means like, okay, so you're talking probably 10 years earlier. So you're thinking 93-ish is when he was in the WWE as the Steiners.
Okay. He's hitting
But
that
yeah, it's
steroid
just,
cycle pretty hard.
oh yeah, you could just see the
Jesus.
difference. He could barely move around, and to make matters worse in this thing, he's like halfway through the match, his pants like come down. And he's got like this purple thong, like whale tail hanging out the back.
Dude, I was like, what the?
And I'm like insult to injury. Everybody in the audience is already like turned on him. The back is probably freaking out in the back. Like Steiner can't go. What the hell did we spend all our money on? And then he's got a whale tail hanging out, and it just makes him look like a big idiot. And it's not even like it's like a purple like lace one. It's like a silky weird one. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think it really
Here's
the icing
man
on
the
the cake
thing.
for him.
The thing about Steiner was too, though, is like he's apparently like a legitimate tough guy too. Like backstage, like he was not somebody to fuck with. He was a huge guy. Like he was an amazing wrestler at one time or another.
Wrestler too.
Yeah, I
so
mean he had a
don't
whole
fuck
amateur
with those
background.
guys.
But it's like something he never fit when he came back for that whole period of time anywhere in WWE.
I was thinking about this though, man, because Garrett, it was me and you that were talking about the original run of the Steiner brothers and what Vince wanted to do with Scott Steiner. And I don't know if Uncle Bill even remembers this, but the whole Lex Express thing or whatever, that originally was Scott Steiner. That wasn't Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to, you said he didn't want to leave his brother behind.
Yeah, they wanted to push Scotty to be like the next Hogan. Break him off on his own, have him come in the Rumble and like win it. I don't know if it was 94 or 93. I don't remember which Rumble. And Scotty declined it and said, I'm not going to break away from Rick. So then I think they shoehorned Luger as like their next go-to guy.
Which is weird because Rick was always the more popular of the two brothers, like during the tag team and stuff and the WCW and all that. But Alfa Romero's got a good point, and I hadn't really thought about this, but this is exactly true. It says Steiner's one of the greatest transitions in wrestling history, completely reinvented. Yeah, I mean, he was just a boring kind of mid-card wrestler. He was a great wrestler, but he just never got over whatsoever in the Steiner brothers.
They lost steam in like the mid, like when they got back from WWE to WCW, that's when like they really started to get really died out. Like Scotty had cut his hair, and it just didn't feel the same as it did pre like 93. Like, so he needed to do something, and he did. You're right. Like, what other wrestler completely kept his name but changed his look to be something totally different?
Look, everything. Yeah,
he was never a talker, and he became a talker. You know what I'm saying? Like everything changed. And you're right. I mean, he definitely did.
I mean, people on here, you can say whatever you want to about him in terms of like his charisma or talent or whatever, but like he had to be a genius in some ways. The shit he did in TNA was some of the funniest stuff and most memorable stuff I've ever seen. Like in terms of like what he was saying, and especially like there's the math promo and all that. But like, remember when he was the ring announcer and for like,
I don't remember that.
There's a spot in TNA there for about, I think he did it maybe once or twice where he was the ring announcer. So he would like call all the guys down to the ring, and he was like hacking on people. Like he'd get to the Dudley Boys and he goes, hailing from the state of obesity. He was just cutting promos on people as he was like calling them down to the ring. And he'd be like, from Dunkin' Donuts.
I mean, he did a good. Do you remember? Like, I wish we could pull it up, but there's like if you guys look on YouTube and Scott Steiner's workout video he was selling. Oh my god, it's unreal. He's like got a bar with like two like tractor trailer tires on. He's like curling it. Then he's like, oh, when you're done doing this, you can sit over here. And then he's like he's doing like dips, and he's like, hey baby, come over here. And these two girls like straddle him, and he's like doing it. He's like, and I'm thinking to myself like, and if you bought this video, like, what are you gonna do? Like tell your wife, come over here, you're gonna lay on me while I do these things. Like, what was the point of this thing?
I'll have to check that out. Yeah,
he was so like, it was just wild to see like what he turned into. And yeah, I mean, it's cool too to see his nephew, which is Rick's son, in NXT and coming up and stuff. So I think the Steiners themselves, like both of them, it was just they were so good. And it was just really sad to see where he was in this point in time, and that this one match basically ruined that whole run for him in WWE. And at that point, like you said, like there was nowhere else to go. So it was like, this was it. He left WCW on top, took like a year off or whatever, came back, and then he was basically a mid-carder forever for the rest of his life.
Triple H, man, just burying people all over.
The time off the road, not wrestling, and the roids and everything, it was like, it didn't work out for him, unfortunately. But continuing on, this was the WWF Championship match, and I don't
it's a tough one to watch, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I definitely thought so as well. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. And I mean, this was the match of the night. It was, honestly, but at the same time, I didn't. That's the thing about Benoit is like I've watched his matches and stuff over the years, but I just don't. I watch them, but it's kind of like watching paint dry at this point because I don't get anything out of them because ultimately, and I know some people can turn that off and that's cool, but I just, it is what it is.
No, you can't watch that stuff anymore without thinking about it. There's just no way.
I agree. For sure. And what I did like about this is I actually really liked Team Angle. I thought that was like a real cool trio. I thought Shelton and Haas and Benjamin were a freaking fantastic team, especially at that time. I really liked them, so it was cool to see them in here. I kind of forgot about them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like after the Steiner match, people were deflated in that arena. And then when these guys came out and put on the show that they did, it got a standing ovation, and I can still remember that. And then Angle walked out, and Chris stayed in the ring and looked up, and everybody in the whole arena stood up. And what's crazy is that with the WWE Network or whatever, it's Peacock, they were cutting a lot of Benoit stuff out. They actually kept in the standing ovation with Benoit in the ring. He's standing there all by himself, and the whole arena is standing at their feet saying, "Thank you, Chris," and clapping. And this is awesome and all stuff. And I can remember when that happened. And you look at that now, and you're like, wow, it's kind of weird that they'd keep this because number one, it's post match. It's not even in the match. And it was like this big celebration for Chris Benoit. And this match really, where Steiner, it killed his WWE career. This match put Benoit on that next level because then the following year was when he won the belt at Mania. So he was, and the Rumble and stuff. And I think this match really solidified him as a big player. And what's crazy to think about, and it's weird, is that WWE put everything on Benoit at one point as their world champ. And you look at that now, and it's not only just crazy because of this Benoit story itself, but Benoit was really great in the ring, but he never seemed like he could be the guy to carry a company because he just didn't have that. Brett had more charisma.
Well, ultimately, if you look at his run, though, he was the champion, but he wasn't the main event, really. Right. I mean, it was not. He wasn't the focus of the show. It was still the same, Triple H and
because there was two titles here too, right? So he was one of the title holders, and the other one was Tripp, I think, right?
I'm not sure. I just remember.
Triple H had the WCW championship, basically.
Yeah,
at that point,
I recall just the shows themselves. He was never the guy. Even though he was the champion, but they never did give him the John Cena rub or Triple H or where he was.
Was it him and Eddie that were the champs together? I think.
Yeah, I think they were for a while. Yeah, definitely when they were both champions at WrestleMania 20, I think. At the end there, but it's a sad thing though, man, because who knows what happened with that. I mean, I think it was something that really, really went wrong up here with him. That's the only thing that makes sense. But at the same time, regardless of what it is, his entire career is erased, really. I mean, it's on there. You can watch it, but all the great matches and everything, you can't, I can't enjoy them. And
he was a great technical wrestler with a lot of intensity, but he just did not have any charisma or any kind of I don't know, just whatever that it factor is that makes people like really good. Like you were saying, I think Bret Hart had more of that than he did. Like, I mean, and they were basically the same type of wrestler, but it's just like something was missing from Benoit that whole time, and it always was too. Even like WCW and all those at that time period, there's just something always was missing from him.
But yeah, Kurt Angle won the match, and it was a long match. And like you were saying, Benoit received a standing ovation there towards the end, and ultimately would get that, the WWE Championship run there for the next WrestleMania. But the Royal Rumble match, and these are always fun too, because there's random characters that come out there and you're like, who the hell is that? And there was definitely a couple in this one that I was like, I don't remember that at all. But
this probably though had the most like huge superstars together in one Rumble that I can remember, like in terms of the modern era. Pretty much everybody you can think of that was big, through the 2000s, and even some still to this day, were in this Rumble, man. Like there was a couple of ones where you're like, oh, this is kind of shitty, but like the majority of them were all kind of legends. The majority of people,
and that's another thing that's crazy is that you think about that, like they were like made stars, where now it's like it's either they don't want to make stars or they can't make stars, and it's just really hard to come by. But this was kind of like right post WCW, takeover, so they were trickled in a lot of those guys as well. So like everybody were big stars because it's coming off like the Attitude Era where everybody was just so over. But yeah, I thought it was a cool Rumble, and they had that big switch at the beginning that where it was like, so Shawn Michaels was the first one in. Yeah. And here's what I noticed with Shawn Michaels. Talk about somebody, and again, it has been 20 years, but like he looks like he's aged like 50 years in 20 years. It's crazy. Like I was watching it today and I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how young Shawn Michaels looked there. Like I couldn't remember that he still looked that young. And I'm thinking, wow, he's completely like he looks like old man Marley from freaking Home Alone now. Like it's just insane to see what 20 years can do. And I'm like, oh my God, like what am I going to look like in 20 years,
Yeah, we're all fucked in 20 years.
Like, probably. I think we're in that age now where like this next 20 years is going to be a brutal one.
It's going to be a real steep downhill fall from this.
It seemed like Shawn Michaels was like 9 times out of 10, he was always like one of the first 2 participants in the Rumble all the years he was in it.
Because he could go, like they knew he could go almost the whole distance every time.
Yeah, it started with Jericho and Michaels, by the way.
Actually, it actually started with Christian. Like you think like Jericho's coming out, but it's actually Christian that comes out to distract him, and then Jericho comes up from behind and beats the shit out of him
and then tosses him out. You know how upset I was in the audience? Because like Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler. So I was like, oh my God, Shawn's at the beginning. I get to watch him for a long time, blah, blah, blah.
Now let me ask you a question, because I'm horrible with timelines and stuff. But like, was this the time period when Jericho like punched Shawn Michaels' wife and all that stuff? Or was this later on? Okay.
That was, if you guys haven't ever seen that in the chat, you've got to find that. He hit her for real.
Yeah,
and I don't know the backstory if Shawn said just do it. Like I don't know, but like he clocked her hard, man, for real. And it was like that was brutal. She had like this huge egg on her head, like it was knocked her out or whatever. Like, yeah, that was when Jericho was going through that interesting phase where he was like he'd wear the suit and tie, remember? Yeah, and he had like the short hair and stuff. So yeah,
I love that version of Jericho. He was like straight heel, like he didn't like break character at all.
Like this. Yeah.
We're going to go through I mean, I don't know how you really fucking review an entire Royal Rumble. I guess we'll just go through the participants and everything.
Yeah, it's hard to just say everything that happens.
Christopher Nowinski was number 3, the Harvard graduate. And there was a brutal spot in this match.
Yep.
Edge dropped, like, I don't remember exactly what they were trying, but his leg, I mean, it just looked off. He like kicked the shit out of him. And that was like what led to all of his issues with concussions, I think, in this match.
Probably
Yeah, he was doing like
ultimately
Edge was doing like a flying drop kick off the top or something, and he was going after somebody else, and Nowinski was like laying on the ground, and when he like hit the guy, he like he like landed on Nowinski's head or his face, kind of. It was that did look like a brutal spot.
Yeah, I noticed that for sure. And then he didn't. I think he was out after that, right? I mean, I don't know how much more he wrestled after that. I don't think very much. He was kind of in and out. He was one of the Tough Enough guys originally.
Yeah.
Number 4 was Who's That Jumping Out the Sky?
That's right.
Think about that though. Think about that. That was 20 years ago, and he's still out there. Like that's wild.
And yeah, he was number 4.
I've never liked him either. Like for 20 years, however long it's been.
Ray.
Yeah,
I only liked Ray in like when he was a cruiserweight in WCW. When we first saw him, I thought he was unreal. Yeah. But I didn't. After that, I never was a big Ray fan in WWE.
When he got jacked up and got on the roids or whatever, like he just wasn't.
Got the tattoos all over him and stuff. Yeah, I was more like the
baggy pants. That's basically how I describe him. I don't like baggy pants Ray. Like I like
that's right.
Like 96, 97 Ray in WCW. I'm the same way, I would say. Like the scene, the show where Kevin Nash like throws him like a damn dart against the trailer. He went splat. Yeah.
You remember when the Big Show had him on the stretcher and he picked him up and fucking like hit him against the post and everything?
Do you remember when he first came and he first came out, and I think his first feud was against Angle. And Angle's great because I can remember Angle used to be like getting so frustrated every week because Ray would come out and do like one of his, he'd jump over him and then he'd hit him with the 619. And Angle's like, who is this guy? Because he just came from WCW. And I remember Angle grabbing the mic, like, I was in the ring yesterday and a 6-year-old boy came out and started beating me up. He's a 6-year-old boy. I used to think it was so funny. He used to call him like a little kid. But yeah, you know what though? I'm telling you, and I don't know if anybody in the chat, I freaking love Dominic. Like what they're doing with Dominic, I think is great. Like I think in the end, it's gonna work really well. Like I'm so much more intrigued by Dominic Mysterio than I was when he was just like Ray's son, and he's gotten way better shape. Like I mean, he's thin, but he just was like he had like no body before. And I just think it's just a real cool gimmick where he pretends he was like a convict because he was in jail for like 12 hours.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
I think it's great.
And he's got like the teardrop.
Yeah.
On the next one out on this Royal Rumble number 5 is Edge, and it seems like Edge is just always around, but I don't really recall, man. Like, and I don't know if it's just me. I don't know what Garrett thinks about this, but like all of his shit is just like totally forgettable. Almost every feud that he's ever had, and I've just never been just that big of a fan of his, really.
I thought Edge was really good when he was with Lita. I think that was like to me, like the best Edge, like the rated R superstar with like I think he had the title. He was newly heel. He was feuding with Cena, I think. And then when he feuded with Foley and had like that hardcore match at Mania that like blew the roof off everything, like that was my favorite Edge. And, but other than that, like I really, he was always just kind of there, I was never a big Edge guy except for that little heel run.
And following Edge, of course, is Christian. That's one of Uncle Bill's first or favorite theme songs.
CLB,
right?
Yeah. Have a CLB.
Creepy little bastard.
Creepy little bastard. Oh yeah. Stone Cold basically just ruined that guy's career with that one phrase.
There was a point in time where Christian, though, I think that he could have been a legit main event guy in WWE, and they dropped him. Like,
is that when he came back and was feuding with Orton and stuff? They just came back from TNA or whatever, or no?
No, I think this was right before he left for TNA, and he had the Close Your Eyes song and stuff like that. Like, I think that there was a point in time he could have been like the main event,
Cinderella,
one of the main event guys.
Don't close your eyes.
Yeah, I think it.
Ever Tyson Tomko was with him? Remember that guy?
Oh, Tyson Tomko. Jesus, that guy.
It's like every time he'd come out, he'd just walk out and be like, he'd be like yelling all the time. And I remember that used to be his thing. Like, but then it was like one time he came out first and he's like coming out. I'm like, there's no one in the ring, dude. Like, what are you doing that to, ref?
Like, Christian, I know, is in AEW, but what is he doing? I haven't seen him on.
He's hooking up with Britt Baker.
Yeah, jobbing out right now.
Well, then he's doing some good stuff over in AEW. Just like dude who loves movies said. The next one out, Chavo Guerrero, another guy that really never
Poppy. I'm sorry.
Pepe
never really fit in. You remember the gimmick that he had?
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
I know you're saying
Kerwin White, I think.
Yeah, the Mexican, like he was the lawnmower or something like that. Didn't he? Like, no, that was the white guy gimmick. But he also had a gimmick.
He had the gimmick where he had like he had like the horse. Remember, like the little like that weird horse with a stick on it.
Pepe.
Oh yeah,
right.
Man, he had a lot of bad shit.
Yeah, man, they gave him some horrible shit.
Ooh, ciao.
That was a good theme song.
He was never. I could never get into Chavo. I don't know what it was. Remember when Chavo was like completely bald? He had like 3 pieces of hair left on his head, and then he went away for like 6 months. He came back with like a full head of hair. I'm like, what the heck just happened here?
He got a hold of the hair club for men.
I miss Psychosis and Juventud.
Oh yeah, they was like.
What about
the Mexicals? That's right.
Tajiri,
like the lawnmower.
That's the gimmick I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, Tajiri was the next one out though, and he was in WWE.
That's messed up, huh? Like they do like landscape and stuff.
Yeah, man. Imagine them trying to do that today. How that would go over today.
When Wes Texas messaged us today and says, "Who cleans your house?" She says, "In the Mexico." What a weird gimmick that was, huh? That's odd.
Yeah, they came out in tractors.
Yeah, that's funny.
Super crazy though. We wouldn't very like if he was there long, you really couldn't tell because he was never on TV. Anyway, Tajiri, number 8. Any memories of Tajiri in WWE?
I mean, you remember he was like Regal's lackey or whatever for a while?
I do remember that, yeah.
I remember him being killer in ECW and then like
he was
nothing at all in WWE about him.
Do you remember Tajiri was actually in WWE when they did the Cruiserweight tournament in like I think it was 97 or so?
No,
like
was that when they like the AAA one, like that whole thing? Oh, I know he's saying the Cruiserweights with like Brian Christopher and Taka.
Right, he was in that Cruiserweight tournament. I think he had like blue short tights on, didn't have the beard or anything.
Huh.
And then they brought him in later on that year for the Barely Legal show, the ECW show. And I think that's how he got hooked up there and kind of switched his gimmick around. But fantastic guy in the ring, like the Tajiri Super Crazy matches too, man. Holy shit. We got to see one of those live.
They never did that feud in WWE though, huh? They missed out on that because that was a big ECW feud.
Right. And
both those guys were insanely good around that time too.
Didn't they bring Tajiri back for something not too long ago? In NXT maybe or something like that? Maybe somebody in the chat.
I do kind of recall that. Maybe it was like a Rumble or something in NXT or something. There was something he was there.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago that he came back briefly for. Next one up was Bill DeMott.
Oh yeah. Hugh Morris.
Yeah.
Was it General Rection?
General Rection. There you go. I was going to say Private Rection.
General Rection. WCW was out of control back then. They were just like doing anything. What do you want to be called? General Rection. Oh, okay, we'll do that.
It's better than the fucking Misfits in action.
Yeah, that was
one that I didn't recall though. Tommy Dreamer was still here at this point in time. Was he almost like a part-time guy and doing backstage stuff, or what was he doing in WWE?
I think that gimmick was like, remember he was doing that gimmick where he would like eat shit, like eat weird stuff. He would like go get a haircut. And he'd like
he
eat
would
the
eat
hair off the
shit.
floor.
That'd be awesome.
You don't remember what he was doing?
I'll eat it.
Yeah.
He would like eat stuff. Like he went to they did a segment where he went to get a haircut and then he like ate all the hair on the floor that like from all the people that were getting the haircuts.
Oh my god.
And then like he was like eating like the urinal cakes. You don't remember that? He was like an eat.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was it Tommy Dreamer that wailed Jericho with that kendo stick and like put that huge knot on his head during this match? That was brutal.
Mhm.
Brutal.
Next one up, I know you guys have fond memories of B Squared.
Leopold Buchanan.
B Squared.
He was a wicked waste. He was such a waste. Wasn't he originally in like Truth Commission or something? Is that where he came from?
He was, yeah, he was the Truth Commission recon or something like that in the Truth Commission. I don't know.
I don't know why they kept him around.
Rob Van Dam was number 12, and he's a guy that I think did way better than a lot of people thought he was going to in WWE. One of the biggest issues, I think, with him was himself, right? Because he was WWE champion, and then I think he and Sabu got caught with marijuana or something. And this was like in Huntington, West Virginia.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think his biggest problem was he just didn't take any shit from like people, and he didn't really like want to kiss ass and stuff like that. I mean, he was a main event guy, but there after a while they wouldn't ever give him like any more push because he I think he was he was so into like the weed and stuff that he just his motivation or drive or whatever like to try to live up to all that stuff like just wasn't there.
Oh, Curly Jaws, real quick with the super chat. This is an interesting one. Would have Hakeem the African Dream start a stable?
Why Lance Storm?
To go against the Bloodline?
That's a good question. Tonka?
What?
Old Curly Jaws is tired right now.
He's had a couple of them gummies. Thank you, Curly Jaws.
But RVD was that's a sad story in a sense that you're right. Like, he had main event all over him. He was so over, and he was such a good freaking worker. You couldn't deny how different he was than everybody else. And it's unfortunate that, WWE being the place it is, and him being the guy he was, it was just like he just didn't match that corporate.
Probably.
I tell you what fucking killed him though was the Saudi Arabia trip or the Iraq trip?
Yeah.
Whichever one he like didn't go to. And there was that whole big thing where he got suspended or something like that. It was supposed to be like optional. And so he was like, all right, well, I'm not going. And then Vince got pissed and they was like basically killed his run.
I think one of the most fun pay-per-views that I ever remember watching, it was ECW One Night Stand 2015 or no, 2005. I think
the one with him and Cena at the end, right?
The one, with RVD and Cena at the very end for the.
There was so much heat in that arena, man. For like,
that was amazing, man.
And then the beginning with Orton. Orton was so juiced at that time; he was like a monster. I remember him coming out at the beginning and people like yelling at Orton, and some little kid like punched Orton in the arm, and Orton turns around like he's about to kill this kid, and then the kid's father like had to kind of get in front of Orton. Orton was pissed. But like that arena was so hot that they like were ready to jump those freaking barriers, man. It was unreal.
Well, I remember Cena was throwing the shirt and
they kept throwing it back.
Yeah.
They're wiping their ass with it and throwing it back.
He did it like 4 times. They threw it back at him every time. It was great.
They did it right too, man, because they used like the Metallica for they used the actual song for Enter Sandman, and they used a lot of the wrestlers' ECW versions of their songs, and that was just both of those shows were really special, I think.
I would love to do some reviews on both of those. Maybe do the first one first, and like the second one. There was a couple. How many one night stands were there? Like the good ones, maybe like 3 or 2.
I think there were 2, and then they just went like WWE One Night Stand or something.
Yeah.
Next one up, though, number 13 is Matt Hardy version 1. And it's hard to believe that gimmick is that damn old, but yeah. Shannon Moore was with him. And he was in a while. They let him, he was in for about a half an hour. Eddie Guerrero, though, and he was number 14. And it's weird watching Eddie Guerrero now, too, because I think that he could have, he died relatively very young, and it'd been interesting to see what all he would have done had
How old
he.
was he when he died?
I'm thinking he was not even 40 at the. I'm thinking he was in his 30s.
It's wild.
Somebody can look that up and tell us. But
Yeah, he wasn't 40, I know.
yeah, I'll look it up here. But yeah, any memories though of Eddie Guerrero in WCW or WWE?
Yeah, in WCW he was a legit cruiserweight. Then he got jacked up, and by the time he got to WWE, man, he looked like completely different. I don't think it affected his mobility as much though as like some of the other guys. Like he was still able to get around pretty well, and like he could still hit the same kind of spots and stuff. But
He had just turned.
He wasn't as
38
quick
years old,
either.
by the way.
He just turned what?
38 years old.
Wow, that's insane. Because it's still that to me, he felt older for some reason. I don't know if it's because of our ages now, and we were like, wow, I can't believe we're older than he was when he passed. Like it's just wild. Eddie's a weird Eddie and Chris are it's just interesting because like they were Chris was he was over in WCW. He was like champion for a little bit towards the end there before he left, but Eddie was like destined to be a mid-carder for life, and I can't believe how far he made it in a place like WWE, which was probably harder to make it than maybe WCW and stuff like that. But I mean, talk about a guy that came in and ended up becoming world champion and beloved by like everybody. And WWE has still even said that they're looking for their next Eddie Guerrero, like a guy for, for that culture that's that over that could hold a title. Like they thought maybe it was Alberto Del Rio, and it wasn't even close. Del Rio,
Quit beating the shit out of people. Yeah, he probably could have done it.
They wanted him to kind of be that next Eddie, and it was like I knew right away. I'm like, he's not Eddie, not even close. But yeah, it's crazy to see how over Eddie was and got himself.
Next one, Jeff Hardy. What are you going to say about Jeff Hardy? Rosie, and it's another guy that died relatively young. I think he passed away a few years ago.
Is Rosie isn't that Rosie? Like Reigns' brother?
Yes, that was his older brother.
Yeah. Speaking of that, are you guys like flabbergasted on how freaking great Roman Reigns is? Like it boggles my mind because I can remember we used to talk about when they tried to push him as like the big baby face and we're like, dude, he doesn't have it. And remember like Jason was the only guy defending him. We're like, dude, like it's not going to work. He doesn't have what they're looking for. And Schniegerberger was always like, no, he's got it. Like Roman's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then you see him now. And I like, even after tonight, I'm like, man, like he's so freaking good at that role. Like he is a natural bad heel, and it's just crazy to see how it was able to get over so much that it's almost going to push him as a babyface at some point because he's that good at what he does. It's just it's crazy to see that though.
Somebody else that's very, very important to that character, though, extremely important to that character, and I think if he wasn't there, it wouldn't work. It's Paul Heyman, man.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't have Heyman to work off of and play off of, I think Paul Heyman is maybe the best actor that they've got in that company right now. Like some of the stuff that he did, the stuff that he does,
and you can tell he wrote that last segment. You can tell that's got Heyman all over it. That Sami Zayn segment.
Yeah, like Paul Heyman is the best hype guy in terms of like getting people over. Like I think that there has ever been really. Just a side guy that like consistently like makes people better and gets them over. Like I don't know if there's ever been anybody that good.
But I think Roman Reigns wanted to be heel for a while and they just wouldn't let him do it.
Well, no shit, man. Like he should have been heel years and years and years, like before he was. People hated that guy forever.
I know.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. I'm just very, I'm just almost in awe of how good of a heel he is. And you know what? I even think freaking the Usos are great, man, too. Like they really are.
So too,
they're people. I think those guys are going to be Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, they've been with the company for so long. They've held the belts for so long. They were like these babyface guys forever, and like they're great badass heels. Like they really are. And
now they're teasing like a dissension between them too,
right? Which is interesting to see because I don't know like what you do here because obviously leading into Mania, it's got to be Roman Cody. It's got to be. And then you think then it's going to be what though? It's going to be. I thought it was going to be Sammy and Owens versus the Usos at Mania.
I don't know jack shit about it, but this looks like one of those things where they're attempting to make one of them like a singles guy. Like I don't know which one that would be because I don't know enough about them. But like
Jay would be the guy.
That's what it seems like they're trying to do.
Here's my prediction because how many people's in the elimination chamber typically?
The elimination chamber.
That's next month. And it's in Montreal, hometown of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Oh, they should do them all in there, like all Owens and then all the Usos or whatever in there.
Yeah, I mean, what if they had like the Jay and Sammy and I mean, I don't even remember what are the rules for the elimination chamber exactly? Is it team?
Well, usually what happens is no, it's not teams, but that's why I think it would kind of work because like you would have Sammy, Kevin, the Usos, and then their brother Samoa, whatever his name is there, the younger guy, the younger Uso. You'd have him,
yeah.
And then what would happen is then you would get like them, like let's say like the Jimmy and that other Uso guy, I can't remember his name now. And Kevin Owens and them, and then all of a sudden, like Jay's like the last one to come in. Then all of a sudden, he has to choose, right? Like who he sides with, kind of thing. I think they might go that route.
Is it Billy Uso?
Uso's going to get Uncle Rock. Come on over. He comes out with Naomi.
Uso.
Is that no? He's not Naomi's husband. Naomi's husband's the heel one, right?
I don't know. I know that Jimmy's the one that has the DUIs and stuff. So if they were going to
they're not going to push him.
If they were going to give a singles push, it would definitely be to Jay, I would think.
Yeah.
Test though was number 17.
And he came out with Stacy. He was like a big baby face testicles. Remember? I love my testicles. That was like his thing.
That's a guy that they just tried their best to do something with him, but it never worked.
He was like, I mean, if you looked at him, he was huge. What was he like 6'9" or something like that?
He was blonde, huge, jacked.
Yeah, jacked up dude. I mean, he fit the like what was going on at that time perfectly. He just never, maybe it was the drugs or whatever, but he just never could work. He just couldn't. It was never very good.
Though, he was a good worker. I felt like he was a pretty good worker for his size. I just think his personality wasn't there. But Test always did really good for himself with girls. Like he was really dating Stacy Keibler for a long time, and then him and Stacy Keibler broke up, and then he started dating Kelly forever before he died. And you look at that, and you're like, Test did all right for himself.
She was like what 19, 20 years old at that point too.
Yeah. And then he passed away, and like then. There was even something on. Do you remember that when Kelly was on a reality show? It was like, Sports Wives or something like that because she was married to like a hockey player or something like that. And then there was an episode where she was having like going through depression, and then she had to go see a specialist or something. And it ended up because she just kept thinking about the ghost of Andrew, which is Test. And it was like on this reality show because like they were dating when he passed away or shortly after. Or they had broken up, and then he passed away like very shortly after or something. But
he had a run when they brought ECW back there for a little while, didn't he?
Yeah, remember how he came into the mix? Remember how he started his debut?
Not really, but I just remember he was there.
He was the road manager for like the security guard from Motley Crue on Raw. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, Motley Crue was playing on Raw. Yeah.
And one of the wrestlers was like trying to get to Motley Crue, and he came out and like attacked him and like it's head of security. And then he became like next week he was like a wrestler.
Yeah, Vince Neil was like, "You'll never pass the test."
Is that what he said? Yeah.
And the reason he was called Test is because when Motley Crue was playing, he was the guy that went up and was going test. So then that just became his name.
Test. This is a test.
And that's what his music did. Remember? Test.
Yep.
Dun.
Number 18, John Cena came out with the Houston Astros attire on. This was
real early, man. When he was still like rapping down to the fucking ring.
Yeah,
that was great. I'd forgotten all about that like kind of era of Cena.
So I'm guessing he was babyface at this point because they were in Houston. Or no, they weren't in Houston, were they? They were in Boston. So he must have still been a heel at this point. They were in Houston tonight. I don't know why I was thinking that.
Where in the hell's he from, though?
He's from Boston.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm confused. But yeah, John Cena and I know we talked a lot of shit about John Cena, but man, like that dude was fucking over. I remember when we saw him I think it was one of the last Raws I'd been to in 2010 or something like that. Probably the closest thing that I ever heard to getting Hulk Hogan like ovations was that ovation that John Cena got. And I kind of got it at that point. I was like, okay, I mean, this guy is like busting the roof off this place. So I kind of get it for that, but never was a huge John Cena fan.
Yeah. I think it was probably just probably our ages at the time that he was over, you know, like.
Yeah, we weren't 12.
But I mean, I'm sure, yeah, like I'm sure my dad wasn't really like, when I was a little kid, he probably didn't think Ultimate Warrior was like great, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there like running around the house with like face paint on, being like, this guy's the best. And my dad's probably like, it's not my thing, you know.
Number 19, Charlie Haas, the Haas of Pain.
Oh God.
Charlie Haas, a great
wrestler. Yeah. No personality, no charisma. No. Great wrestler, off the charts.
He married Jackie Gata, so I applaud him for that. She was one of the hottest back in the day for sure. I don't know what she looks like now, but back in the day, she was fun, man. Rikishi.
Rikishi.
The father of the Usos and Solo was backing that ass up in Royal Rumble 2003.
They should bring him back to fix what's going on over there.
Well, if he backed that ass up now, like he's old, so he's probably got hemorrhoids or something, and that wouldn't work so well. It would probably like,
you know what they should do?
Out. Yeah.
I don't know if they would do it just because I don't know if it'd just be such a ripoff that like people would laugh at it. But did you see like Billy Gunn, how over he is in AEW right now? He's so over, and like he's called Daddy Ass, and that's his thing. And he's so over, and he comes out with like these two younger guys or whatever, and his sons are over there too, and they call him Daddy Ass, and like he's so freaking over like Rover, like probably over as much as he's ever been ever, and at his age and stuff. But I was like, so they should just rip it off and have and just call freaking Daddy Oos and have freaking Rikishi come out and try to get him over again.
Let's see, where am I at here? Jamal was the next one, and what were they called? The 3-minute warning or something like
3
that?
minutes. Oh yeah. And when they beat up those chicks, do you guys remember that? How bad that was?
Who did they beat up?
Like the lesbians or whatever. Remember?
Oh my God, dude! Yeah,
and they got sued.
All about that.
He got wicked sued for that. Like, if you look at that, if you can find that clip on YouTube, it is disturbing to watch. These girls were just girls. They weren't wrestlers, and they like took one, threw her like sky high in the air, and the other one caught her in like like one of those like.
I don't remember that
in midair. Like I'm like, and then the girl, like I think she like broke her rib or something like that. They ended up suing the whole company, like they saying that they didn't know it was going to be that rough or whatever. Yeah, if you type in 3-minute warning in HLA, that I'm wondering if YouTube has it, but it's brutal.
But yeah, the 3-minute warning, they didn't really last very long because Jamal was the one that came back as Umaga a couple of years after this, and I thought that was a killer gimmick.
What the?
It's so damn late, man.
She's probably like, go to bed.
Okay. Kane, and I thought for sure Kane would be one of the surprises tonight because I saw a photo recently.
Or Hellfire and Brimstone,
and he was like all jacked, right?
Yeah, it looked like he'd gotten back into shape and stuff.
Yeah.
So evidently not. I mean, maybe he was, backup or something. I'm not really sure, but this was shortly before he got unmasked. Like I think he and RVD at the time had a tag team thing going on, and he become, crazy unmasked Kane shortly after this.
When they shaved half his head, that was all. That was the gimmick.
Kane.
so
Kane is
weird,
the
yeah.
one. He's the one wrestler that I just always hated. Like I've never like that time period. Maybe when he first came in, and all that with the Undertaker, like he was okay.
He was
But
mysterious.
and that game. But man, just as like a wrestler to watch his matches and stuff like that, I'd rather watch anything else. I'd rather watch the fucking Big Show. I think. I'm not sure. It's a tie. They're basically the same person.
What if he came back as the Christmas creature?
Yeah, well, that'd be fine. Yeah.
You remember when they totally like forgot, like when they got a whole new. This is like when they got the whole new writing staff after the Attitude Era, and like they were bringing in like a lot of soap opera writers that had no wrestling background to like
That's
start
right,
writing stories. And all of a sudden, like Kane's new gimmick was that he went to college and like was partying, and like remember he like hooked up with that girl and like killed her, and like Katie Vick or whatever. Remember
that was the angle that got them probably in the most trouble ever. The necrophilia.
But I remember being there and being like, "What the hell is going on?" Like the story of Kane, he was like Bear had him like locked away forever with like a voice box. What do you mean he's in college? How was he in college? It's like, hey,
wasn't there a thing though?
Like,
the part about that storyline that always confused me was there was a part of that storyline where Triple H like broke into the funeral parlor and was like making out with the corpse or what. I was like, what the fuck? Why?
He was doing more than making out with the corpse.
Yeah, it's like, was that supposed to
God.
like do something to Kane? I mean, you're humping a corpse. That's probably doing more to you.
Oh my god, it was just wild back then. But it was just I always just make me laugh that like randomly they decided they were gonna make Kane like he was in college. He wore the mask? Like I didn't even understand.
Yeah, he showed up just like trigonometry in that fucking mask.
And the voice thing. Hey,
I'm here for English.
Then some kid like nudges him like, "Yo, dude, you want to come to my party tonight? There's gonna be girls there." Okay, like it just
Hey,
never
baby.
made sense.
Take you back to my place.
I always just thought it was just like wild because like the writers just didn't know.
Is there extra credit for these assignments?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, you're gonna take the mask off. I can't. I'm burned.
And then he takes the mask off. When he gets unmasked, it's like
it's just like soot. Yeah, just like soot and shit.
He's
Is all
just
on.
got soot on him. Like
has he not
just needs to
washed
wash
his face in like 30 years or whatever?
Oh my god, that is so funny.
Shelton Benjamin is a guy
man, what
that's
an
still
underrated
He was
freaking
amazing wrestler too, and he actually had more charisma than Hoss. And they pushed him there for a while, if you remember. Like, but
he's still amazing though. He's still in WWE.
He's
I'm
still
surprised he wasn't out there tonight.
No, he's one of those guys that it seems like he's almost always been there. I'm sure there were a few years he wasn't, but yeah, I mean, definitely underrated in the ring. And
how old would that motherfucker be? Would he'd have to be next to 50, wouldn't he?
Shelton? Oh yeah,
he's probably close
he's
to
probably
50.
almost 50. He looks great. He can still work great. It's just they don't use him enough. It's sad.
When they did the Money in the Bank matches at WrestleMania too, like he was always in him, and he was the one that stole the show pretty much the entire time. Usually,
remember he had that gimmick where he had his mom or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He had to ask her to like have a match and stuff.
That was bad.
That was horrible.
Number 24, Booker T.
He was great back then.
He was there tonight he was one of the surprises.
You could tell though, man, he could barely move.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
I don't think he'd been training for that. Maybe they just threw it on him or something because he was barely in it at all and pretty much thrown right out.
Yeah. At one time or another, though, he was like top 5 wrestlers, and probably one of the best tag teams ever that don't get any credit at all.
I think he had a really memorable feud with Stone Cold too, like back when he first come in there.
Oh yeah, the grocery store brawl and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. A-Train, one of the furriest wrestlers of all time.
What are you gonna say about A-Train?
What was that gimmick that he had a few years ago when he first came back?
Where he was Japanese?
Lord Tensai or something.
Lord Tensai,
yeah. He was all shaved and stuff.
He was like a fucking Mortal Kombat character or something.
He had shit written all. You imagine how long that took too? Like he had a whole like
And he was
Japanese
completely
thing written.
shaven too, you know, like it must have been like a whole process to
That
get him
probably took
shaved
longer
and
to
then
do
put all those
that.
little things on.
Yeah.
God, for that piece of trash to come out there and wrestle, you do all that. I mean,
The thing
it's
was too, it's like
waste of
he's not
time.
even he's not even Asian, so why did we even have to do this?
That's Lord Tenzai. He's from the
Oh my
Orient.
god.
Well, they kind of were like, he was known as A-Train years ago and has been in the Orient and trained with
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
whoever. Right. That's how they kind of explained it. Maven Bulls.
Fuck, I've
Tough
always hated Maven.
Yeah, I was shocked that he was the one that won Tough Enough. But
You know what though? I felt that there was a point in time where Maven could have been good. He was a heel and he was like really all roided out, juiced to the gills. And I think he had like the IC title or something for a little bit. And I thought for sure, because he was always decent on the mic, I thought for sure, like, I'm like, okay, they've got something with Maven. And then I think it just died out.
So didn't he come from Tough Enough? And that like,
Yeah.
he came out of.
He was the first one to ever win. Yeah.
Gold Dust at number 27. And there was a tribute to Gold Dust tonight from his younger brother.
Yep.
Shattered Dreams. Yeah.
Number 28, a very, very, very crazy young and kind of like no tattoos, Dave Bautista.
The Deacon.
He had a little belly button tattoo, though, which I always thought was so weird that a dude would
It
have.
is. Have you ever seen anybody else have that tattoo? Because I have never seen that.
No.
Like a guy.
That's so odd, yeah. But he looked crazy. Like he looked like a different person here. He was young looking.
He did look very different. Yeah.
But I kind of like Batista. I think that he was, for a dude that looked like that, he did way more than you would think he would be able to do.
I don't have anything positive to say about Dave Bautista.
I was never a Batista. I never really was a Batista fan. I thought he was fine, but he was never anybody I really cared about. I got mad at him because I was a big Morrison guy. When I heard he was hooking up with Melina, I was very upset with that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's upsetting.
Yeah.
Apparently Melina was hooking up with everybody though, so it's not his fault.
Well, I mean, you know,
poor Morrison.
Number 29, and Brock Lesnar. He had a match earlier in the night, and he's the one, of course, ultimately wins the Rumble. He's another one, man. Like, he just looked so freaking young. And it was 20 years ago. So that is a long period of time. But Brock Lesnar's one of those guys that I think that he only comes around a guy like that every probably 30, 40 years, maybe, that just naturally got everything. It just, everything came natural to him, man. And he can do it all. He really can. Like his character now, like he's funny. He can like cut promos. I think that he's getting better and better, really. And I know Uncle Bill's not a big fan of Brock, but like he's one of those guys that I'm just drawn to the screen when he's on to see what the hell he's going to do.
I haven't seen him in years, man. Like the Brock that I'm going off of is probably like from 4 or 5 years ago. I just got tired of seeing him come in like once every 6 months or whatever and just suplex the shit out of somebody and like go home. So
he's been better when he's been doing this, like he's been better as this like baby face where he can like, you know, he acts, he has a character. Before he was just stood there and let Heyman do all talking. And,
yeah.
I mean, even tonight, when he came out and he hasn't really been wrestling too much, but I was like, he looked great, like physically, like he still looked fantastic and he can still move. And yeah, Brock's really, really good. And he has a lot of charisma if they let him use it, which they are now. He comes out with like the cowboy hat and all that other stuff now. And it's just another evolution of the character. And I just think, like Wes said, it's just, you don't get people like that anymore. And I'm trying to think of like their roster now, if there's anybody that stands out where it's like, man, this guy just has it. And, you know, Brock was that guy. I mean, he wasn't the greatest on the mic, but I mean, I think the look and the way he worked. And
the only one there that comes to mind is Braun Breaker. Like he's one of them that's kind of like that. Everything seems to be coming really, really fast. Because this dude is 23, 24 years old? He's very young.
He's young, very young, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. So, Undertaker, and this was the Booger Red era of the Undertaker. You remember? He's got them soup bones, folks. He's hitting him with them soup bones.
He probably said that 15 times every night. Like,
Yeah, he probably heard that on like some sort of fucking show or something. He was like, that sounds cool. I'm going to use that. It sounds cool.
That's probably my least favorite incarnation of The Undertaker, to be honest.
Well, it was the dead man walking theme, too. Yeah, he did that. And it was like, the first part of it sounds really cool because it's got the bell tolls and it's like, dead man walking.
And then the fucker starts singing, doesn't he? He's like,
he starts singing a minute.
You done it now.
Do Billy do.
You know what I did like though when he had, I liked when he had American Badass. I thought that was killer.
Yeah, that was a better.
I didn't like when he had Rollin' though. I didn't think that fit.
Oh, that's awesome. Roll. Come out there, Limp Biscuit.
When he showed back up doing the American Badass gimmick again, which I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah,
I miss Warlock Undertaker though when he was like stringing people up and
that was my favorite.
Getting into trouble.
Like, the pointy beard and stuff. Yeah,
sacrificing the Dark Lord,
Lord Ballabog. Yeah,
the Dark Lord
back in the day.
Yeah. So the final four: Undertaker, Batista, Kane, and Lesnar.
Some big daddies in there. Huh?
Yeah. And ultimately, I think Brock eliminates Undertaker at the end. And Undertaker kind of gives him his seal of approval as well. With
not realizing that that Brock was going to be the guy to take his streak like 15 years later.
That's true.
I still can't believe they did that. That still to this day bugs the piss out of me. Like he didn't need to do that anyway. To get over, like, what the fuck?
I mean, they should have had him just retire with that undefeated streak. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
It's like his only thing. He'd been there for like 40 years. They just like,
if you were going to lose, though, why would you not lose to like one of the newer guys?
Like,
why would it be somebody that's already over?
They just always bothered
me. It didn't really do anything for Brock. He's already over. So,
but then again, none of that shit Vince was doing at that time made any sense. So.
You know, here's another thing about this show, though, and I printed out the Wikipedia page, had all the people on it. Like, this was 20 years ago, so this is another thing that makes me feel very, very, very old. So it's almost like the point now where we could go back and revisit something from probably 10 years ago, and it would be like it was yesterday or something.
Mm-hmm. It really does feel like that for a lot of things. I don't know what it is. What was that? 2000 and what? 3?
2003. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that long ago to me. I think anything after 2010 is going to feel very recent. I don't even know what was going on around 2010, to be honest.
Was it originally supposed to be Roman Reigns that ended the streak? I don't really remember.
I know there was a lot of rumors, a bunch of different people. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
He says it was a last-minute decision.
It's a shitty fucking match too, if you remember, because Undertaker got a concussion and really couldn't complete the match. It's just all of that was horrible.
And I think Undertaker is one of those guys that probably should have retired 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the last couple of years that he was there, he was just kind of like, okay, here I am. Give me my money and let's go. I'll
say this though. Those matches with Shawn Michaels and the AJ Styles match, I mean, those were all classics to me. So, I mean, it was worth it just for that.
Cinematic match,
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had fun watching this show. I enjoy watching all the Royal Rumble shows. I think it may be my favorite pay-per-view.
It is. Yeah, it's mine too.
Watch. But any final thoughts, you guys?
No, I thought this was a good one to go back to just because, again, it's the 20 years I was there. And that Steiner match to me just really stands out as like just something that we would have found funny. But I was watching it, and then what happened was it rolled over to like the next Royal Rumble the next year. And I just like kind of kept it on. It was like watching like the next year. It was kind of like nothing major was really going on, but the Rumble came out and I videotaped it on my phone because I'm going to post it as like a reel or something because I thought it was funny. Is like, Orton's out there and Steiner's out there in the Rumble, and this is like the next year. And for some reason, Steiner starts laying on Orton in the middle of the ring, laying on him. And Orton's trying to get up, and he was just like holding Orton down onto the ground, like in the middle of the Rumble, like completely laying on him. And Orton's trying to like wiggle out, and he's like, it's almost like Steiner was so tired that he was like, just fucking lay here, like. Because everybody's wrestling and fighting in the ring and like throwing, and then he's like laying down in the ring, and Orton's like trying to escape, and he's got like, and Steiner's got like his legs like curled under Orton, so like Orton can't get up, and he's kind of just he's just like mounting him, and then Orton finally scurries away and goes to the corner, and then you just see Steiner just dive on him and like lay on him again, and I'm like, he must be exhausted.
He could have just been
so young. He was
with
probably
him
like,
too.
fucking just stay here with me, and I
think he was
recorded
messing with him.
I don't know. It just, to me, it just looked like Orton was trying. I mean, Steiner was probably trying to like, let's just stay here and do this. Like, no one's gonna notice. I'm so tired. I don't know. I'll have to send it to you. It was just kind of random because everybody else is just having a matches around them, and they're just laying on the ground on top of each other in the middle of the ring.
A lot of those from that era, I've not watched again. It would be like the one live time, and I probably haven't checked it out. Like I watched the ones from the 80s and the 90s, like all the time.
Same.
But yeah,
you know which one would be cool? Do you remember? I don't know what year this is. Maybe it's a couple years after this. Do you remember when like that Pewter guy that won the Tough Enough and he came in the Rumble and like Benoit and all these guys just like beat the living hell out of him? They wouldn't let him. It was like it was planned. Like he came out and it was like the next guy was like Bob Holly, then it was like Benoit, then Eddie, and they just all like destroyed
beat
this
the
dude.
Shit out of him. Yeah,
do you remember that? And like he
because
never
for the
came
Kurt
back.
Angle thing. Yeah, you remember the Kurt Angle thing where he
when he like really hurt.
He shot on Kurt Angle, and that was the payback. That was a receipt. Yeah,
it was a rough watch. They just like totally just killed the guy in the Rumble in the middle on TV. It was wild.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely, I'm up for doing these again. The only thing is we need to do them on a night like
without a pay-per-view. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be fucking nice. God,
because we're looking at it's 10 after 2 in the morning. Who the fuck? Like, yeah, this is
there's still a ton of people in here.
Yeah. And we appreciate that for sure. I mean, everybody's sticking with us this late and everything. And
we do it for the tube. We do it for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is something like too. Like, we can always do the physical media shows. Those are always going to be crazy popular. And this is stuff that we just like talking about. So every once in a while, I think it's fun to do these, not just, for ourselves, but I mean, to go back and check these out. And because there's not a lot of people I can talk with about this sort of thing. So it'd be just you guys pretty much.
And people that not only you talk about it, but like, they can remember the same things you can. Like just talking tonight, like you brought up a lot of different memories, right? That I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember this storyline because you guys had brought up something else. And a lot of times I'll be like, remember when they said this? And normal people will be like, no. But you guys knew what I was talking about, or and vice versa,
Ben Grimm did remind us it's only 11 o'clock on the West Coast.
That's true, yeah.
But guys, definitely appreciate y'all checking the show out, and thumbs up. It definitely helps both channels. So borntobirad.com, Dead Pit on YouTube. Go thumbs up, subscribe, tickle that bell notification. So I think when you tickle the bell notification, they'll send you a message whenever we go live. Mm-hmm. So that way you won't miss any of this killer content, boss.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh.
What do we got next together? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
I know we're going to be doing a poster video. We need to figure out exactly how we're going to go about doing that, because showing posters on a live stream is difficult.
I know.
Yeah, it sucks in terms of like the logistics of trying to figure out how to do that.
And I was just talking to Pop recently. I think we may try to do the Scream Factory show, season
6 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometime in February as well. So maybe those will be a couple of the big ones. And Uncle Bill's doing the X-Files stuff. I think we may be doing a watch along, right?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Y'all promised to do that shit, so you motherfuckers
I want to do it. I'm just astounded on how much Mark knows.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, because I was listening to it the other night, and I'm like, wow, like he remembers everything. And
he's essentially the Rain Man of the X-Files. Like, you just ask him, like, he'll be like, oh, that was episode 7.2, like, I mean, he knows all the episodes chronologically and everything that was in all of them, as far as I can tell.
Well, I went back and I watched after I saw you guys on that night. The next night, I started watching season 1, just to get memories. And again, I watched season 1, and I'm like, I kind of remember it, but I don't. Like the episode Squeeze and like
Tunes,
yeah, and so yeah, I'm starting to try to dive into those a little bit because it's been a long time. Oh yeah, that's right.
Definitely mention the Rad Pack podcast channel.
Yeah, so the Rad Pack just created its own YouTube channel. So we're kind of starting from scratch over there. So if anybody wants to go find it, go check it out. It's youtube.com/radpackpod and sub over there.
Yeah. You're going to have to see if radpackpodcast.com or something like that's available. It might be.
I think radpackpod is we get the Gmail for radpackpod@gmail.com. But yeah, we'll have to check on the website too. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because we're going to have to start over with that one, but we'll see.
All right, but guys, yeah, I mean, it's been fun, and we'll eventually do something else wrestling related.
Ric Flair just came in.
Ric Flair is here, and he misspelled his first name. So hello, little dumpling books. I know we haven't been on the chat, but man, it's so fucking late. Like, we appreciate everybody tuning in and everything. But I guess we will see you guys next time on BornToBeRad.com and
DeadPit.com.
Give us a thumbs up.
Going to bed. Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do.
I want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
Hey everyone, it's Oak Early Jaws. We got some great shirts for you. We got Faces of Death Part 2. We got Creepy Stories to Tell in Kentucky. The Colonel Would Approve. We also got Deadpit.com. We got Deadpit Radio with the little fucking Deadpit dude on there. We got It Never Ends, a Halloween spoof parody of the new movie. We got It at Night. We got the Rad Pack, Uncle Rad himself. It just gets better and better, so go on and get you some shirts over at Team Public. It just gets better and better, boss.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Deadpit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.